Welcome to lesson 5.6, solve absolute value inequalities. Now, since this is going to be an inequality instead of an equal sign, there's going to be one other challenge with trying to solve these. Well, the easiest one is still, if we just pretend that this is an equals and we can just proceed like normal, well, there's going to be the option when it stays exactly the same. So when our x is still going to be greater than or equal to positive 6. Because there's always the option that the absolute value signs didn't actually change anything. But if the absolute value changed a negative and made it positive, then that would mean that it was actually the same as a -1 times x is greater than or equal to 6, which means we would have to divide by a -1 from both sides. And since we're dividing by a negative, it will switch the direction of our sign. So now our x will be less than or equal to -6. So I wanted to walk you through it that way so you could see why this happens. But essentially the rule is you have the absolute value route that keeps it exactly the same as written. Or when you have the negative version, where we have the x and the -6, it's going to flip the direction of the sign. So now x is going to be less than or equal to -6. Either way, we can still graph this. So we can go ahead, make our number line. Got a +6 and a -6. It will be a solid dot at both, or a closed circle at both. And x has to be larger than +6 or less than -6. So that's what our graph will look like. Let's try this one. So we have the option where it's as written, nothing changes. So x is less than or equal to 0.5. Or we have the negative version, where x is going to be -0.5, and it flips the direction of our inequality. So x will actually be greater than or equal to -0.5. Well, now that's enough. We can graph our number line. So we've got a 0.5, we have -0.5, closed circle, and x has to be less than 0.5, but greater than -0.5. So it's going to be trapped between those. Let's try the next one. X minus 5, absolute value is greater than 7. So you'll have the option where nothing changes, and it's exactly as written. We will also have the version where it actually is flipped for the order or for the direction of your inequality, and it's a -7. Well, now we can go ahead and add that 5 to each side, so we get an x is greater than or equal to 12, or add the 5 to both sides, and x is less than or equal to -2. Well, that's enough. We can graph our number line. We can have a 12 and a -2. We will have a closed circle at each of those locations, and it has to be greater than 12 or less than -2. Let's try that last one. First step, we will need to subtract 3 from both sides so we can get the absolute value by itself. So -4x minus 5 is less than 9. And now we have our two options. It's either exactly as written, so -4x minus 5 is less than 9, or we have the negative version. So -4x minus 5 is greater than -9. Well, we can now solve these, so add 5 to both sides. -4x is less than 14, divide by -4. Well, now we're dividing by negative, so we have to flip the direction of our sign again. And -14 divided by -4 is going to be a -3.5. On the next one, we can add 5 to both sides. Get a -4x is greater than -4. Can divide both sides by -4. We get an x is less than 1. Well, that's enough for us to graph our number line. So we'll go from -3.5 to +1. We'll have an open circle at both, and has to be larger than negative 3.5, but smaller than 1, so you can actually just connect those circles. And that's it. That's all the more there is for your homework this section. So good luck, and let me know if you have any questions. And I actually just realized I missed a step way back at the beginning. I was supposed to do 9 minus 3, and I forgot to actually subtract the 3. So instead, we will just pretend like instead of a 9, this started out as a 12. And now the rest of the math will check out right. My apologies for not catching that step, but other than that, the rest of the steps were correct. So now, good luck, and let me know if you have any questions.